Imagine leaving 115 people on an island, then returning 3 years later, and finding absolutely nothing. No bodies, no survivors, no graves, no message explaining where they went. Just silence. An entire colony had vanished. Every man, every woman, every child, gone. But before they disappeared, they left behind a single clue. One word carved into wood. A word that would confuse historians for more than 4 centuries. CROATOAN. What happened to the Lost Colony of Roanoke? And why has nobody ever been able to solve the mystery? What happened next would become one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Our story begins in 1587. The age of exploration was at its peak. European nations were racing across the oceans. Spain had already established vast territories in the Americas. England wanted a colony of its own, a permanent settlement that could expand English influence and create new opportunities in the New World. The chosen location was Roanoke Island, a small island located off the coast of present-day North Carolina. Earlier attempts to establish a settlement there had failed, but English leaders remained determined. In the summer of 1587, approximately 115 settlers arrived on Roanoke Island. Unlike previous expeditions, this was not a military mission. These were families, men, women, children, people hoping to build a future. Among them was Governor John White, an artist and explorer chosen to lead the colony. The settlers immediately began building homes and preparing for life in their new environment. But survival would not be easy. Food was limited, supplies were scarce, and relations with some nearby Native American groups were tense. The colony needed help. As conditions became increasingly difficult, the settlers convinced Governor White to return to England for supplies. White did not want to leave. His own daughter was among the colonists. So was his granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. But there was no alternative. Without additional resources, the colony might not survive. White promised he would return as quickly as possible. In late 1587, he sailed for England. Neither he nor the settlers knew that events unfolding across the Atlantic would change everything. When White arrived in England, the country faced a growing threat. Spain was preparing a massive invasion, the Spanish Armada. England ordered ships to remain available for national defense. As a result, White could not immediately return to Roanoke. Weeks became months. Months became years. The colony waited, completely isolated, cut off from supplies, cut off from communication, and cut off from the world. Nobody knows exactly what happened during those years. No letters survived. No journals were found. No eyewitnesses recorded the colony's fate. For nearly 3 years, Roanoke disappeared from history. Finally, in 1590, John White secured passage back to the New World. After a long voyage, his ship approached Roanoke Island. White was excited. He expected to reunite with his family. He expected to see a thriving settlement. Instead, he found something that would haunt him forever. The colony was deserted. Every house was empty. Every street was silent. There were no settlers, no signs of life, no welcoming voices, nothing. The people had vanished. White and his crew carefully searched the settlement. What they discovered only deepened the mystery. The buildings had not been burned. They had not been destroyed. In fact, many structures appeared to have been deliberately dismantled. This suggested planning, not panic, not violence. Whoever had left seemed to have done so intentionally. Then came the most famous discovery. Carved into a wooden post was a single word: CROATOAN. Nearby, the letters CRO were carved into a tree. At first glance, it seemed like a clue. Before leaving England, White had instructed the colonists to leave a message if they relocated. If they were in danger, they were supposed to carve a Maltese cross. No cross was found, only the word CROATOAN. CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island. It was also the name of a Native American tribe known to be friendly toward the settlers. To White, the message seemed clear. Perhaps the colonists had moved there. Perhaps they were still alive. He desperately wanted to investigate, but fate intervened once again. A powerful storm approached the coast. The ship's captain refused to continue searching. The expedition was forced to leave. John White never returned. He never saw his daughter again. He never saw his granddaughter again. And he never learned what happened to the lost colony. For more than 4 centuries, historians have searched for answers. One of the most popular theories suggests that the colonists joined the CROATOAN tribe. This explanation seems plausible. The settlers were struggling. The Native Americans understood the land. They knew how to hunt, how to fish, how to survive. Joining a friendly tribe may have been the colonists' best chance of survival. Over time, the two groups could have merged together. Some later reports described Native Americans with unusual physical features: gray eyes, lighter hair, European characteristics. While these accounts remain controversial, they fueled speculation that the colonists had integrated into local communities. Another theory suggests the settlers relocated inland. Roanoke Island was not an ideal location. The colonists may have searched for better farmland and safer conditions. Archaeologists have discovered English artifacts in several inland areas: tools, pottery, weapons. These findings suggest that at least some settlers may have traveled away from Roanoke. However, no confirmed settlement has ever been found. Others believe the colony met a tragic end. Relations with some neighboring tribes were hostile. Conflict could have erupted. The colonists may have been attacked. If this happened, evidence could have disappeared over centuries. Disease is another possibility. The settlers lived under harsh conditions. Malnutrition and illness were constant threats. A deadly outbreak could have devastated the population. Survivors may have scattered in search of safety. Environmental factors may also have played a major role. Modern climate studies reveal that the region experienced one of the most severe droughts in centuries during the colony's existence. Crop failures would have made survival extremely difficult. Food shortages could have pushed the settlers to abandon Roanoke entirely. Yet every theory faces the same problem: evidence. There is never enough of it. No theory explains every detail. No theory answers every question, and none can be proven with certainty. That is what makes Roanoke so fascinating. Most historical mysteries eventually produce answers. Roanoke never did. The colony simply vanished. As years passed, the mystery became part of American folklore. Generations grew up hearing stories about the lost settlers. Writers, historians, and researchers continued searching for clues. Every new discovery generated excitement. Every artifact offered hope. But the final answer always remained out of reach. In recent decades, modern archaeology has revived interest in the case. Advanced technologies have allowed researchers to examine sites that were previously inaccessible. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, careful excavations. These methods have uncovered additional clues, yet none have solved the mystery. One intriguing development involved hidden markings on maps created by John White himself. Some experts believe these markings indicate plans for alternative settlements. If true, they may support the theory that the colonists relocated inland. But even this evidence remains debated. The truth is that Roanoke continues to resist explanation. Perhaps the colonists successfully integrated with native communities. Perhaps they established a new settlement. Perhaps they perished from disease, conflict, or starvation. Or perhaps the complete story has simply been lost to time. Whatever happened, one fact remains undeniable. 115 people disappeared from history. Their hopes, their dreams, their futures, all swallowed by one of the greatest mysteries ever recorded. And at the center of it all remains a single word: CROATOAN. A clue left behind by people who knew they might never be seen again. A message that has survived for more than 400 years. A message that still challenges historians today. The Lost Colony of Roanoke remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. A colony founded with hope. A settlement abandoned to uncertainty. And a disappearance that may never be fully explained. But perhaps the greatest mystery isn't where they went. It's that they were never found. 115 people. Men, women, children. Their lives, their hopes, their dreams, their futures. Lost to history. And all that remains is a single word: CROATOAN, a final clue from people who vanished without a trace. And after more than 4 centuries, we still don't know what happened to them. Maybe we never will.